Hello everyone, hope everything is okay. My name is Nicola, licensed tour guide here in New York City. So, with no further ado, let's carry on. Please let me know if you can see me and we can take it from here. Looking forward to showing you the beauty of the southern side of Manhattan. Start from here. This is the first welcome in Battery Park, the southern tip of Manhattan. He was an Italian gentleman and he was named Giovanni da Verrazzano. When he arrived in the 27th day of April 1524 on passage, as supposed a shortcut to China, which would have revealed actually how to reach China without circumnavigating Africa. Many people thought this place existed. Actually, it does not. By the time they didn't have any satellite or airplanes, so they had to send people. So what Giordano did was entering the New York harbor and coming that the place was. And here we go. To my right is the War Memorial of the Korean War. It's a negative space of a Korean soldier. And right there is the Statue of Liberty. This white building, now known as Pier A, was a temporary immigration station in New York between 1890 and 1892. Prior to 1890, for 35 long years, Castle Clinton was the first immigration station. Then, after serving as an immigration station, Castle Clinton became a theater. Those who have seen The Greatest Showman may remember Jenny Lind, the Swedish Nightingale, giving her American debut in a movie singing Never Enough. Well, it took place right there. Absolutely. Now, this is the New York Harbor, the biggest natural harbor in the entire world. 3.5 miles, delimited by the estuary of the Hudson River and the Verrazzano Narrows Bridge. The Verrazzano Narrows Bridge is of course named after Giovanni da Verrazzano, who was the first man to ever sail New York. Right there we see the Statue of Liberty coming directly from France, designed by Frederick Auguste Bartholdi and engineered by Gustave Eiffel, who bought the skeleton for the statue to stand upon. Right of the statue, right here, you see Ellis Island, probably the most famous immigration station of all time, being in business between 1892 and 1954. The building you see right here, exactly in the center, used to be Jersey City Railway Station, where 70% of the immigrants cleared from Ellis Island took their train directly to any other destination in the States. Interestingly enough, what you see here is the Merchant Marine Memorial. You see 3 people just right before the boat is sinking, and one is tending his hand to the 4th one. Now, depending on the tide, in the morning you may see almost all the figure of the drowning man. Right now it's high tide, so you can see only part of his head and his hand. Sometimes when the tide is very, very high, the only thing you can see of him is his hand. But let's get back here. Statue of Liberty, designed by Auguste Bartholdi. And Ellis Island. Ellis Island was in business, started to receive immigrants in between 1892, the 1st of January 1892, and 1954.
Natry mo ay tanin.
And the white one is the entrance for the security check for the Statue of Liberty. You remember who was the first person to sail the New York Harbor? Henry Hudson or Giovanni da Verrazzano? And who was the man who actually designed the Statue of Liberty? Gustave Eiffel or Auguste Bartholdi? And what years was Ellis Island in business? And when did it open? 1892, 1901, 1905, do you know? Now let's keep walking around Battery Park. This is actually the most southern tip of Manhattan. Okay. Someone says da Verrazzano, 1892. Okay, I see people are prepared. And that's great fun. Thanks so much for following so attentively, my friends. Thanks so much. Castle Clinton is undergoing restoration, or actually more than restoration, I would say it's a cleaning of some of the boulders, you know. Castle Clinton used to be a military fortress. It was built in 1811. 1811, as the rumors of the British coming back was going stronger and stronger. Okay, 14 people. That's cool. So cool. So lovely. You see, here are some of the skyscrapers of southern Manhattan. Let's keep walking. Battery Park is actually named after a battery of 13 cannons which were built at the basis of Fort Amsterdam, which is the name of the colony the Dutch founded in 1624. I would gladly get you a crab, but unfortunately I can't eat it because I have celiac disease. Look at this, people are filming here, you know? Everybody films and shoots in New York. Okay. Let's go forward. These are already a few places where we can see some filming locations. Let me show you one from Men in Black. It will be right here in front of you in a very, very, very few seconds. We're beginning to see it right behind the trees. We're going there, we're going there. Does anybody know? Has anybody been here? Please write if any of you has been to New York already, and if so, how many times? Nine people have been there. Okay, how many times? Just once or more than once? Okay, 10. You see this building right here? This is where Will Smith takes his exam to join the Man in Black. And right at the end of it, you see right here is the Freedom Tower, the tallest building in New York City. Now, let's go across the street millions of times. The one you see right there, this one right here, is Bowling Green 4 and 5 subway station. Is one of the few original stations of the New York City subway, which opened in 1904. Right here, where the Citibank offices are, is where George Washington set his own headquarters after winning the War of Independence. And now we're just about to cross the street. This magnificent building is the Alexander Hamilton Custom House, designed in the early 20th century by Cass Gilbert, author of the Woolworth Building, which was the tallest building in the world for more than 20 years, right before the Chrysler Building, and of course after the Chrysler Building, the tallest one for a long time has been the Empire State Building. Okay, some people are crossing with a red light. We should not. It's not a safe place to cross here on a red light. Okay, here it is. Up on up off bus. Hello. They're seated outside on a top deck of a bus. You're seated at home and you're enjoying New York the same way. Look, watch this impressive entrance. This is a magnificent place, beautiful. And right on the other side is Bowling Green, the oldest public park in New York. This is where, on the 9th day of July, 17 residents, welcome everyone. Right here in Bowling Green Park, on the 9th day of July, 1776, after George Washington read the Declaration of Independence to all New Yorkers marched in protest. And right there, where you see absolutely this gushing fountain, used to be the statue of the King of England, King George. They put it down, they broke it in bits, they sent the metal to Philadelphia, they forged the metal to prepare bullets for the War of Independence. Isn't it cool? It's called Bowling Green because the British rented to actually play bowling. And the price of the rent was 1 peppercorn per year. Symbolic price, great place. Let's take another look. The fence is still the original one from 1776. Okay, and right here, it's one of the most famous attractions of downtown Manhattan. That's the Charging Bull. And somebody playing trumpet in a very awful way right across the street. What do you think? This is what people do with a Charging Bull. Okay. Aha. Okay, this man got his moment of glory. Now he can go to hell. So let's keep walking along Broadway. But first, a look again at the Charging Bull and Bowling Green Park. You see, the streets here have a black background. You know what this means in New York language? This is the old city, the old Dutch settlement, New Amsterdam, settling in 1624. This is one of the many plaques celebrating the tickets parades all around New York on Broadway. The first one was actually held on October 28, 1886. Yes, the same day the Statue of Liberty was inaugurated. That was actually the inauguration ticketing parade. And ticketing parade, confetti parade were actually invented here in New York by the people working at the stock exchange, who threw all the stops from previous transaction high from the window right there on Broadway, just to let them know they were working, but they were still there as part of the parade. Harry Truman, President of the United States, and Winston Churchill. And an elf. Sorry. We are approaching one of the most famous streets in the whole world.
It was so dark this morning.
We just passed Exchange Street. For those who want to follow on Google Maps, we're on Broadway, the longest street in Manhattan and the longest street in New York. You know, when Manhattan comes to an end, Broadway actually continues in the Bronx, and at the very end of the city, it simply changes its name from Broadway to Interstate 9, and it ends up in Montreal, in Canada. This is the typical sound of downtown Manhattan. A lot of people working on real estate. Broadway, finance, and real estate are the three most paying business in New York. And here it is, Trinity Church, the oldest church in the city. And left of it, the Freedom Tower, along with so many of other skyscrapers. You know, in New York there are 273 skyscrapers and counting. The difference between a skyscraper and a high-rise building is the number of floors. High above 40 floors, it's a skyscraper. And this is an absolute novelty. I'm sorry I could not read the comment. This is absolutely extraordinary. You know, in 22 years I've been living in New York, I've never seen this part of Wall Street without scaffolding. It's generally always closed, and you can see in fact that the scaffolding start from here, but generally this place the image is shaking because unfortunately the sidewalk is not that great. Okay, let me see if by passing it to the other side things are going better. This is Wall Street. Wall Street. And this is the entrance to the New York Stock Exchange. And it's raining, and it's starting to rain. Let's hope the weather keeps. This is Wall Street, and this is Federal Hall, where George Washington swore as the first president of the United States. The statue actually stands in the very same place where he pronounced his oath. This is the back entrance to the New York Stock Exchange. Most of them actually think this is the first entrance, but it's the rear entrance. Meet George Washington. And this place here used to be J.P. Morgan's house, home of the first terrorist attack in New York in 1920, September 1920. At 12 noon, a horse carriage loaded with dynamite exploded with 39 people dying, including the horse that was drawing the carriage. 39 people plus one horse. It was an anarchist attack. J.P. Morgan was indeed not only a rich but also a lucky man. He was actually supposed to be on board of the Titanic, but he actually missed the boat. And that was actually a very lucky occurrence for him. Now let's move a little bit more towards the center of Wall Street, just to show you the view of the street. The name Wall Street actually comes from a wall the Dutch built to keep the natives and the British away. And these plaques you see right here mark the place where the wall was running. This building for some time has been the tallest one in the world. Just replaced by the Chrysler building within 2 weeks. All right, feels like the rain has stopped falling. Let me close my umbrella so everything could be more comfortable. Please bear with me 1 second. Okay, there we go. Okay, sorry. And of course, there is no need to say that so many movies have been filmed here on Wall Street. Now let's keep walking. I remember you, we are actually inside the old Dutch city. Wall Street, once again, is named after the wall the Dutch people built to keep the British and the natives outside of New Amsterdam. It didn't work a great deal because, you know, the British actually had access and they could cut it, and the natives didn't need it because they could easily enter the city by rowing directly from the sea or from the East River or the Hudson. There are so many places here. So many famous places within a bunch of streets. Lots of school buses. Unfortunately, most of the old places have been turned down to leave room for these skyscrapers. This is actually where Thomas Jefferson used to live. Now let's cross the street carefully. And let's keep walking.
Will you get something from there?
No, I brought some Brazilian cheese. And I have checkpoints too.
Just about to see some of New York's most famous icons, and it's not a building. There it is. Smoke coming out the chimneys. You know, it's because there are so many pipes where boiled water runs through. Somehow there is a leak of steam, and they have to find one way through manholes to make it escape up in the air, because otherwise the excessive pressure could actually make the whole thing explode. So that's why you will always be able to see this chimney sending steam up in the air. New York, Nassau Street, named after William of Orange, once the Duke of Nassau. Okay, the King of Holland, when New Amsterdam was the most important colony in the New World for the Dutch. New Amsterdam became New York officially in 1664, as the man appointed by the King of England officially took over. The man was the Duke of York, that's why the place is called New York. At the end of the street, a few steps ahead, you can absolutely see the very last part of the graveyard next to Trinity Church, which we've seen right before entering Wall Street. In other words, we've been going around one block. How you doing? New Yorkers are always nice. They always say hi. It's a legend to think that New Yorkers are rude. If you need help, New Yorkers are always ready to help. They simply don't like to be made fun of. So if they think you're making fun of them, they could be pretty harsh. Not a skyscraper. How about it? Okay, so you remember the questions? Who was the first person to reach New York between Giovanni da Verrazzano and Henry Hudson? Who was the designer of the Statue of Liberty between Auguste Bartholdi and Gustave Eiffel? What year did Ellis Island open up between 1892 and 1901? Wall Street is named after what? And then, oh boy, I've forgotten the fifth one. Okay, let me think. Okay, what year? Who was the first one to say? Who designed the Statue of Liberty? What year? Ellis Island? Yes. And the fifth one is that, what is Wall Street named after? Okay, I've seen there's people. Okay, you've seen the famous New York way to say hi. The interesting thing is that here is Broadway, as you can see. We started from the very end, went all along, but we're just to end in a very, very important place. It is one of the few places in the world everybody remembers where they were when the bad thing happened. Yes, you got it right. We're going to the World Trade Center. Many people still call it Ground Zero, but it's not the best way to call it. Ground Zero actually means is what remains after a bombing. So it's the ruins after the bombs fall down. I'm so sorry I have to step lightly from the steps because I'm no longer so young. I wear glasses, but glasses are for reading, so I can read your comments. And Glasses are not for walking. So I have to be very, very, very careful. And there would be no way for me to be able to read your comments on the answers to my questions, which are most of the time correct, I would say, if not all the time, absolutely correct. Okay. So if it shakes from time to time, it's not because of the gimbal. It's just like me, Nicola, having to really pay attention to where I'm walking. Do you remember where you were when the Twin Towers were attacked? Okay, write it down, write it down. I'll tell you where I was. I was home, I had just finished having lunch, and my sister called me to ask me if I knew where my girlfriend was, because my girlfriend by the time was a New Yorker and she was living here in New York. And she said, well, make sure she's okay, because it feels that one airplane crashed against one of the two Twin Towers. So that's where I was. Where were you? Let me know where you were. Let me know.
¿Te regalan barbijo? Sí, raro. Pero tenías que escanear el coso y con eso estás ganando $500.
Here it is, the typical New York yellow cab. Okay. Monitoring voting in a school in Connecticut. Okay, not far away from here. It's a day everybody will remember. You know, I have actually never met someone who was born on that very same day, September 11, 2001. Have you ever met someone who was born on that day? This person would be 20, of course, today. And it would be interesting to know how these people feel being born on one of the few days which changed the human history. Okay, you don't. Okay, this is a Christian Orthodox church, the Church of St. Nicholas. Do you know St. Nicholas is the patron saint of New York? Many Catholics think, since, you know, the main cathedral is named after St. Patrick, that actually St. Patrick is the patron saint of New York. No, it's not. It's St. Nicholas. St. Nicolaus, Santa Claus. So Santa Claus is the patron saint of New York. And of course, because this is the city dreams are made of. Okay, you see? The sun is coming out and we are approaching the 9/11 memorial. So just forgive me if I would be less talkative. But this is really, really, really a very important place. You know, it's a pleasure to be with you, absolutely, but let's just walk as much as we can in silence to pay a tribute to all these people who lost their lives. I wish we knew why. You see? South Pole and the North Pole. The first one to be hit was the North Pole. This is one of the many tours that every day are led around here. Maybe you already hear the sound of the waters. Okay, I will be silent now. The tree you see right here is a surviving tree. It's the only tree which survived the disaster. When it was recovered, it was brought to the Bronx Botanical Garden just to, be taken care of. And then it was placed exactly where it was found. Now let's move to the North Pole. The Hoculos by Francisco Calatrava and the North Pole. And look at that. Wow. Okay. Look here. Can you see? It's a white rose. Now I will explain to you why the rose is here. Chapelle Renee Stewart Sarker. Today it would have been her birthday. Every day when somebody has a birthday, the city of New York puts a flower if the victim was a civilian, or a flag if the victim was a military. And on September 11, on 9/11, all the names have flowers. I see another flower, but there's somebody there. I don't know if it's a relative or something. So if it's still there by the time we pass, I won't stop. I don't think it's very respectful. No, it's actually moving, so. The oculos. Place you see right there, this old building right here. Let me see if you can see my finger. Okay, right here is where P.T. Barnum had his own theater. Now the theater was destroyed by a fire, so another building was built. But that is the exact location.
Yeah, I just like, it's not fair to you to like, leave you. Just like it wouldn't be fair to me to force you to go with you.
The interesting thing about the World Trade Center is that it stands on artificial land. Naturally speaking, the island of Manhattan was not there. It's all landfill. In fact, during the excavation for the building of one of the two towers, they discovered a beautifully and perfectly preserved old Dutch ship right there. Now let's cross the street and let's get to the Hudson. I am walking along Brookfield Place. Brookfield Place is another marvelous example of landfill. 35% of the surface of Manhattan is actually landfill, land reclaimed from the river and the sea. 35%. They started building landfill in 1790 with John Cannon in the South Street Seaport District. But now, as we're walking towards the Hudson, bringing our tour to an end, let me ask you the questions again. Who was the first one to reach the New York Harbor? What year did Giovanni da Verrazzano sell the New York Harbor? Who was the designer of the Statue of Liberty? What year did Ellis Island open? And what is Wall Street named after? Once again, for those who answer correctly, the prize is a reproduction of the Statue of Liberty. No worries. This is Battery Park City. This is a brand new neighborhood, dating back to the second half of the 1990s. It's interesting, there is a South End Avenue, an East End Avenue, a West End Avenue, but there is no North End Avenue. Maybe you could start viewing the Hudson, Pump House Park, Battery Park City.
Where if you put another 50 million in, it's still not.
This is North Cove Marina, a yacht club of downtown Manhattan. Look at this. Just wait. Wow. Just wow. New Jersey. Good yachts, Brookfield Place, and North Cove Marina. All right, my friends. I hope you had a great time. It was a pleasure leading you around, starting from the New York Harbor, showing you the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island from the distance, Battery Park, Wall Street, 9/11, all the way to the North Cove Marina. Thanks a lot. Congratulations for those who have answered all the questions correctly. You're going to receive a prize. Thanks so much. Come back soon and keep watching JoinPro. JoinPro. Why the hell did I say JoinPro? Okay, keep following us. Have a blessed day, my friends.